Hi everyone, my name is Marcos Casiano, and I'm here to tell you about some of my tales from the road. Some of my adventures along the highways and byways of the US and Canada, but never Mexico, and I never went to Europe to play. Okay, let's get into it. This next adventure takes place around 1983 to 1985. This is when I was really getting tired of playing in bar bands and playing in the bar scene. And most musicians will get tired of it. You know, the environment's not all that good. And it's just draining after a while, especially for me. The smoke was just always terrible in those bars. But around this time, I started listening to a Christian radio station. I would go to work at night, and I found this Christian radio station. I turned it on. It was pretty cool. I'd come back home at night, and I would listen to it again. 20 minutes each way. And I thought, well, maybe I can find a job playing in a Christian band, in a Christian pop or rock band, because by this time too, I had started going to a charismatic Pentecostal church, and the preacher was real good. The thing I liked about him was he always challenged us to get into the Word. He'd always say, "Don't take my word for it. Read the Bible for yourselves." Okay, so that was pretty cool, and so I did, and so as a result, I think the Word of God and everything you listen to sort of changes things in your life. Well, it should change things in your life. And so I thought, I would like to find a job with a contemporary Christian band. And by this time, I had learned some of the names of the artists, kind of like, I'm going to mention Leon Patello and Dallas Holmes, DeGarmo and Key. I think there was Petra and a whole host of other bands. So it's like, how can I get in touch with these guys so I can send them my demo? Well, I went to a Christian bookstore one day, and they had a magazine called Contemporary Christian Magazine. We just called it CCM. And in the back, it would publish the tour dates of the bands that were playing, and it would also give a phone number for them. So I got home, and I would call several of these places, not places, several of these artists, and usually, I'd always get their management or whoever's booking them. And I'd always ask, can I send them a demo? And they said, yeah, feel free. It'd be okay. Send a demo. So I had a little package, I think, with a photo of me, a demo tape from the last band I was playing in. So I sent it out to several artists. And there was only two artists that responded back, and that was Leon Patello and Dallas Holmes. They sent me a real nice letter, a letter of encouragement. But at the time, they weren't looking for anybody. So I thought, okay, this is going to be a little harder than I thought, meaning because in the bar band or in the secular world, it's easier to network with people because you know where the musicians are. They're playing in this bar tonight, or this guy's playing here. You can go out and meet them. But in Christian music, especially in the 80s, these bands weren't out there playing, and at the local level, there was just, I think where I lived in Huntsville, there was a couple of Southern gospel bands that I would have taken the gig, but I really wasn't that interested in playing with the Southern gospel. I wanted more of a contemporary Christian band, but I would have taken anything, and I didn't realize how hard it was going to be. I thought it was going to be easy because in secular music I was always working. I just could network a little bit, and for the next 3 or 4 years I'd be playing with someone in a band, and so I didn't have to do a lot of networking. And so I thought the same thing would translate over to the contemporary music industry. I thought that it was going to be an easy transition, that within 2 weeks I'll be playing with somebody, but it wasn't like that. So around that time I went up to Nashville to kind of, you might say, network and look for bands. And I don't remember how I came across this band, Canaan. It was a husband and wife. The wife was the singer. Her name was Karen, and the bass player was her husband. His name was Barry. Again, I don't remember how they got their phone number or what, but I remember calling them on the phone. We talked, and then I went up to Franklin, Tennessee. They had a place where they could rehearse up in Franklin. It was an office building. So we went up there, and I rehearsed. I remember it was them. I think they had a keyboard player, and I don't remember if they had a guitar player at the time. Guitar players were always a little more difficult to find. Again, probably because we didn't work a lot. you know. So as a result, we started working on our first album. It was called Neverland. So actually, here's the T-shirt from it, Canaan, Neverland. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I still got it after all these years. It's a little small. But anyways, on Monday nights, I'd go up to Franklin. We'd hash it out, the arrangement. And one thing I always appreciated about them was they let me have basically pretty much creative control of how I wanted to play the song and the way I approached it. I don't think they very rarely said anything to me, you know. I remember in rehearsal sometimes Barry would be real animated. He'd go, "Pa-da-da, I want this, pa-da-da," and I always got a kick out of that, you know. But the songs were really good. They were really easy to work with, you know. So when it came time to doing the first album, and this is a little unclear because I remember going to Murray, Kentucky, and I remember going up there 3 times, but only on one of those occasions when I went up there did I lay down some drum tracks. And I did all the tracks by myself in the studio, and I think I worked from like around noon until maybe 10, maybe even midnight, working the tracks. And I basically could do all the songs in one take because we had rehearsed them so well that playing the songs were like second nature. And I remember the engineer says, "Okay, we have to do the drums first." I'm playing electronic drums. And then he goes, "Then we have to go back and do the cymbals. I can't record both at the same time." I don't know why, but it really wasn't any problem. So I laid down the drum tracks first, basically went back again, played the drums again, but he only recorded the cymbals the second time. It went very smooth. The engineer, I believe his name was Mike, and he was real easy to work with. He was a great guy. He was very complimentary of me, of the way I played, that the fact that I kept solid time, and it was just easy to lay down those tracks. So I laid down those tracks, Murray, Kentucky. It was a good experience. I love playing in the studio, first of all. So after we did the first album, again, I think that Karen and Barry printed up some 45s because, you know, this is the 80s, so you would send 45s to the radio station. So I remember they sent a 45 to a radio station in East Tennessee. I can't remember the name of the town. It's where Keene's College is. And out of it, actually, the song that we sent to them, I think it was Jerusalem, it charted and it was #1. And as a result, Keene's College called us to go and play at their college. So we went to Keene's College and played. On the way back, I remember we stopped in Knoxville, Tennessee, and played at Assemblies of God Church, and came home, and that was the end of our 2-city tour. And I remember something a little funny, not to get off on a rabbit trail, was we did another gig. It was like northeast of Nashville in a place called Old Hickory, Tennessee. And we get up there, we do the gig, and at the end of the gig, you know, they took a love offering. And at the end of the gig, I think it was either Barry or Karen handed me like $15. And I go, $15? They go, yeah. That's all we made, but we're going to give it to you because, you know, you had to drive the furthest to get up there. So I thought that was pretty funny. It was pretty cool. But that's the way it was back in the 80s with contemporary Christian music. And again, you know, working with Karen and Barry were always a joy. And you know, to this day, they're still working. And another thing, after this, because it was really hard to make a living in Christian music, I actually ended up going back into secular music, going back into the bar scene. But this time it was different. I had a different perspective, you know, like it's almost like I was renewed, I was refreshed, and I went back with a different attitude. You know, it's not that I liked it, but I could deal with it, you know, a little better. And I remember the first band that I hooked up with, they were really nice guys. I remember the bass player was actually a Christian, and the guitar player was actually Jewish. But whenever we would talk, you know, about the Lord and the Bible, he was all ears. He would listen to us talk. So basically, that was my experience with Canaan, doing our first album. I think we actually did 2 albums from what I remember, and but it was a lot of fun. I wouldn't trade it for the world, and I thank God for the great experience that Karen and Barry provided for me. Okay, God bless, and more later.